Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, and welcome to another edition of Heavy Thoughts. This is where I take a moment to share with you what's been on my mind and what's been on my mind in kind of something I'm curious about if other people are in the same place as me. I'm think I'm starting to get tired and going to slow down and stop going to big concerts. And what I mean by big concerts is, hockey arena style concerts, big outdoor type of things. And I'm guessing a part of it, or probably a big part of it, is my age. I'm getting tired of, I don't have the energy for parking a mile away or sitting in my car for an hour trying to get into a parking lot. I don't have the energy for being out in the elements, getting pounded on by the sun or the rain or the cold or whatever is going on. Usually bad, expensive food. You're paying a ridiculous amount of money just for water to just. It feels like these things sometimes feel like they're survivalist missions. These big outdoor shows. I don't know if I even mentioned on this channel that I went to. It's called Welcome to Rockville, which takes place in. It currently now takes place in Daytona, Florida, and I took my son because. Who did he want to see? He wanted to see Bush, and I think that there was somebody else. I think Guns N' Roses was on the bill too, and I can't even remember now. But the point, I don't remember because there were thunderstorms, and they kept shutting everything down, and they kept getting it. It takes place right on where the racetrack is, and they kept getting us to off and on the field. And we had gone the year before with my wife and I went to see. I know I saw Mastodon and Anthrax was there, Metallica was there, and that one wasn't too bad because they did it in, I think it was like October, and I think it had something to do with the pandemic, because normally they do it in the summer, like May or something. But even that, there was nowhere to sit. You had to sit on the ground. The ground was all wet and dirty because it had rained. The food was insanely expensive, even though Daytona Raceway is designed for like millions of people to show up. It still took forever to get in and out of the parking lot. The toilets are disgusting. It was just one thing after another. And I was just kind of like, this isn't worth it. And the tickets are, here's the other thing too. Okay. So that's number one, the parking, the whole, like just getting there, the eating, the whole dealing with all that stuff is, I just can't really do it anymore. And that's part of the reason why my wife and I like this 70,000 tons of metal cruise. I mean, we've done it, I think like 8 times at this point. And part of the thing is that you got your own room, you can go back, you got your own private bathroom. You want to go back, you want to take a nap. The food is as good or as bad as you want it to be. You can eat pizza the whole time you're there if you want, or you can have a nice sit down meal every time you want, so you have control. In other words, you have control over the food that you're eating. All right, so there's that. And then the other thing is the ticket prices. It's getting to a point where it's just ridiculous. If you go to any kind of bigger show, you're going to be paying $75 to $150 for the cheapest of seats. I'm not talking like being on the floor right up next to the band. I mean, I was considering, and I still might, just because I've never seen them, The Cure. The Cure is going on tour, and they're coming to Tampa, to the hockey arena, Amalie Arena. But the tickets are like $125 for like, you're basically as far back as you can possibly get. It's like $120 for a ticket. And for me and my wife to go, you're talking $250 or more with, fees and taxes and all the other garbage that they shovel onto it. $250 for that. So you can park on the street in Tampa. That's not a problem. So parking isn't really an issue. But I mean, if we're going to eat or something, if we're going to have one drink, why we're there. I mean, it's easily a $300 night for both of us to go to this. And it's just getting to a point where I'm like, is this worth it anymore? And I'm starting to feel fatigued by the whole thing. The last time I saw Iron Maiden, which was on their last tour, I really kind of started to feel it where I was like, maybe I don't enjoy this as much as I used to. I'm starting to get tired of this. Now, I'll see Maiden when they do they're going to do like a themed tour somewhere back in time, era type shows. So I'm sure I'll go to that. And I'm sure if Judas Priest comes around, or AC/DC, the really big bands, but I'm just starting to get to a point where I'm going to go to less of these types of shows. It doesn't mean don't like going out to shows in general. I just prefer to go to local shows. There's a venue just a few miles from where I live called the Orpheum in Tampa, where when they do bigger shows, they have an outdoor stage in the back, and then they have an indoor stage. There's smaller clubs. I just enjoy that environment better. I don't have to pay $125 for a ticket. I don't have to fight to get in and out of some parking lot that I got to pay $25 to park in. I don't have to pay $9 for a bottle of water. I can, they're usually at night. I can just go, it's a couple hours and then you leave. So I don't know, man. I just think that I'm really starting to get tired of the big shows. And even with my favorite bands, I'm starting to think that it's time for me to retire from these really big shows. When I saw Deep Purple, I did a video when I did Made in Japan. I talked about seeing Deep Purple a few months ago, and that was in a theater. There were seats. It was comfortable. The tickets were expensive, but at least it was comfortable. There was no opening band, so I didn't have to sit there through like 3 opening bands before Deep Purple came on. It was loud, but it wasn't crazy loud. Again, this is me getting old, but my back, and I've got a problem with my right knee. I just can't handle standing for like 12 hours, at a show, or my back can't handle it. My knee can't handle it. When my wife and I saw Metallica at Rockville, my back was I was in so much discomfort. It was from standing all day. We had been there since like 10 in the morning, and they didn't go on till 10 o'clock at night. And I could sit in the grass and stuff like that, but it was so uncomfortable. And by the end of the night, between my back and my knee, I was just like, man, it took me like days to recover from it. So, all right. So where are you guys at with live shows, especially with these bigger live shows, these arena type shows, these more bigger festival type things? Where are you guys at with stuff like this? Are you still all into it, or are you sort of cutting back, or are you feeling sort of the same things that I'm feeling? And again, a lot of this is just, my back, that's just an age thing. Let's face it, I'm getting old. But I'm just curious where you guys are at. There's a lot of shows coming around, and it's getting to a point where it's like, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, when Bruce got back with Maiden, when Halford got back with Priest, I got to see Sabbath with Ozzy back. Got to see Priest with Rob again. I got to see Iron Maiden with Bruce again. But now I've seen them a whole bunch of times, and it's starting to wear out a little bit. And I'm kind of like, Roger Waters came through, and I saw Roger a few years ago, and the ticket's super expensive. And I was like, I saw him like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know if I really need to see Roger Waters again. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I did it, but I don't know if I need to actually see it again. So, all right, let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on these big shows? Are you still into it, or are you starting to get a little fatigued and not going to as many of these big shows as you used to? Or maybe you never went to these big shows. Let me know what kind of, maybe you don't go out to concerts that much anymore. Just let me know your feelings about going out to shows. Let me know in the comments down below. Till we see you again, make sure you rock hard, ride free.